Good afternoon, and welcome back to the Garden of Grace devotion. My name is Pastor Katie, and I'm one of the pastors at Trinity Lutheran Church in Lilburn, Georgia. Today, I'm recording from the community school garden boxes, which are located behind Trinity. And I'd like to begin the devotion today by sharing with you the words of a song that we sing sometimes in chapel. The song reads, "With faith as small as a mustard seed, you'll move mountains. You'll move mountains. With faith as small as a mustard seed, you'll move mountains by the power of God. Believe what Jesus said is true. Believe he said it just for you. Wait and see what God will do when you pray. When you pray. With faith as small as a mustard seed, you'll move mountains by the power of God." Now, there are hand motions and all kinds of things, but those are the words for the song. Isn't that something to think about? With faith as small as a mustard seed, tiny, tiny faith, we can move mountains by the power of God. Small faith plus big God equals incredible things. The words from the song that I just offered to you are based on the story of Jesus and his disciples in the Gospel of Luke, chapter 17. I imagine that you may have heard this story before. Perhaps you've even heard various versions of it. But because hearing something in a different translation can help us to understand it in a new way, today I'm going to read this story to you from Spark, the Story Bible for Children. The title of the chapter is Seed of Faith. It reads, "Jesus and the disciples were walking near a grove of huge mulberry trees. They wanted to be better followers of Jesus. 'Give us more faith,' they asked Jesus. Jesus pointed to the largest tree in the grove, something like the trees behind me, I imagine, and said, 'Do you see that huge tree? Take a moment now. Look at those huge trees behind me. Do you see those huge trees?' Then Jesus pointed to a tiny dot on the ground. 'Do you see this little mustard seed?' This tiny dot. Jesus' friends gathered around to see the tiny seed. Jesus told them, 'If you have faith the size of this tiny mustard seed, you could say to that huge mulberry tree, move into the sea, and it would.' The disciples were confused. Jesus was using things in their environment that they could see to help them understand things that they couldn't see. The disciples were confused, and Jesus said, 'God gives you all the faith you need. All you can do is say yes to the faith that God writes on your heart.' Like the song said, with faith as small as a mustard seed, you can move mountains by the power of God. God can do small things. God can do big things with small beginnings. About a month ago, I gathered out here at these garden bins with the preschool and the after-school children. And I planted tomato plants with the 4-year-olds and green pepper plants with the 3-year-olds, zucchini plants with the after-school kids, and with the 2-year-olds, I planted green bean seeds. Each child came up one at a time. We dug a little hole, and then they took a seed, just one seed, and they put it in the little hole. As they covered it up with dirt, we said a prayer. May God bless you and help you grow. The child then planted another green bean seed in a cup to take home with them so they could be reminded of how God can do big things from small beginnings. I suppose we were praying that prayer for the green bean seeds and the child and each of us at the same time. May God bless you and help you grow. So here they are in front of me. You can see some of the green bean plants here. The green bean plants that each child planted are now sprouting. Now, green bean seeds are different than mustard seeds to begin with, but nonetheless, from each one little seed that was planted, an average of 100 green beans can grow. And so it is with our faith. God has planted seeds of faith in our lives. These seeds of faith are gifts from God. Do you ever find yourself wondering, though? Do you ever wonder if you have enough faith? Do you ever feel like maybe you don't have enough? The messages around us in commercials and on television and the internet and billboards are fairly consistent. More is better. Large amounts of things are better than small amounts. Why have one of something when you could have 12? The one with the most toys wins. You get the idea. In our gospel lesson today, though, the message is quite the opposite. With faith as small as a mustard seed, you can do big things with the power of God. Jesus was walking along with his disciples when they made a request. "Give us more faith," they said to Jesus. Presumably, Jesus could have done just that. He could have given them each the equivalent of buckets overflowing with faith. Instead, though, instead of granting their request, Jesus took a moment to offer a lesson, to teach them that the faith they already had was enough. This is true for us today as well. The faith that each of us has is enough too, because our faith is a gift from God. And God is always at work in our lives. Jesus offers the message. Our faith doesn't have to be ginormous. The faith that we have is a gift from God. With faith as small as a mustard seed, we can do incredible things from the power of God at work within us. It's interesting and feels like a God wink that as I was working on this devotion, Travis Wilhite walked into the office. With him, he had a letter he received about the Hunger Walk. With a look of amazement on his face, Travis talked about how Trinity raised over $17,000 for the Hunger Walk. And he said, "I just don't know how that happened. There wasn't really a way to explain it. Because of the pandemic, we weren't really able to do many of the things we usually did. The Shrove Tuesday supper, the bake sale, wine night, selling t-shirts. Yet we did what we could." Travis made a video recording. We sent out words of the particular need of supporting the Atlanta Food Bank during this time. With the faith and the gifts that God has entrusted to us, with God at work within us. As I read in the letter, we were able to raise the most money ever raised by one Lutheran congregation for the Atlanta Hunger Walk. With a little faith and a big God, we can do incredible things. I'll close by singing the song that I read in the beginning. And may you remember, if you're having a day or a moment or a season when you feel like maybe you just don't have enough faith, You do. God is always at work in us. Our faith may feel small, but our God is big. With faith as small as a mustard seed, you'll move mountains. You'll move mountains. With faith as small as a mustard seed, you'll move mountains by the power of God. Believe what Jesus said is true. Believe he said it just for you. Wait and see what God will do when you pray. When you pray. With faith as small as a mustard seed, you'll move mountains. You'll move mountains. With faith as small as a mustard seed, you'll move mountains by the power of God. Thanks be to God. Peace be with you. Amen.